I wanted to open up with a little history that I've been exposed to. Lisa Jones came in a little while ago. I didn't know she'd be here today, but she's here. Before I get started, I want Lisa Jones to come up here a minute. Just a minute. Let me personally say public. This woman here has done more to teach our community about our history and our ancestors than anyone I've known in the Twin Cities in a long time. I'm bringing her up here at this minute because it's Black History Month. Years ago, Elijah Muhammad died. There was a knock at my door, and it was 3 of his sons. He said, "Our father said to give you the history for safekeeping." Make sure it stays here. I had made up my mind to put it in the Black Museum in Chicago, but then I saw we were going to have one here, so I said I'll do it here. Shortly following that, I was doing my radio show on KMOJ, and I had to go downtown and fight for Malcolm's wife down there at the Federal Building. A bunch of those brothers went down there. And through our relationship, she said to me, "These are Malcolm's speeches. They're all unreal. No one has them, but I believe you can write with them. I want you to be the first to look at his tapes and look at Elijah's history and those 2 books. There's only 3. There's 2. And I want you to open it up and look at your ancestors who spoke to us for generations. And those books are safe, and I've kept them safe ever since 1960 and 1970. The same with Malcolm's original tapes. And sometime today, when I finish, if you feel like coming up and looking at these powerful men that did this for us, feel free to come see your history of your people." Malcolm's speeches here go back to 1961. I intend to transfer them all into CDs, because if we try to play them on the reel, we're going to destroy them. So I'm going to transfer all of them, but I'm going to make sure that my wife and my children know. Take care of this. Put it in the museums on loan, so our people will always hear the words and read the words of what those said before us. To those young people that spoke last night with all that wisdom, all that responsibility when we think they're all lost, gangbanging, drug dealer, going to jail and dying. Those young men and women got up with so much love and so much strength and so much power that you could hear them. That's right. In them. That's right. You could hear them in them. So, Lisa, you have kept the voice of our ancestors on that airway. I wanted you to be the first to touch them. No one has ever touched them since they've been given to me as a gift, because I've truly been responsible of doing what both people asked me to do, the sons of Elijah and Malcolm's wife. And most people don't know I have them. You can officially turn it around and even read it if you like, to see where he's at here. There's even parts on there that tell you all his business. They're precious and they're priceless. I also put up here my ID from when we did the hip hop summits, when we were 2 seconds from saving Tupac and Biggie. I also put up here my ID as a staff member of the Million Man March. I also put up here my ID from the National Peace and Justice Summit to save our children from gangbanging. And the most important one I put up here is Chicago, Illinois, when we all came together for our reparation. It's right here. A year and a half, a record company, Lisa, came to Minnesota because they believed Minnesota was the second Motown. And we spent a year and a half compiling all the stories, all the music, and all the pictures. And the end result is right here, Purple Snow. And all the history of all the bands that I've ever worked with, and all the children that ever came through my music school is in this book. Also, the music has been redone, it's inside. The small one has a DVD inside. As a matter of fact, the greatest DJ we ever had, Q-Bear, is here tonight. Wave your hand, Q. Q-Bear grew up watching me work with all these children. Several millionaires now, Q. You and I were supposed to win with them. Also, tonight, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis honored me with the Wings of Success Award. Because it's history. So I'm sharing a little history. But I want to listen because there's always a safekeeper. She is now the safekeeper of our word as African Americans in Minnesota. Whether you like it or not, she's consistent with it. And what you don't know, you're learning from her. She probably don't even know we listen to her that much. But yes, we do. And I want you to bear witness. Part of my history is all that work I did. In honor of Fannie Lou Hamer, for 9 years I served on that board to make sure that Fannie Lou Hamer would be the 4th black woman in America to have a statue in Ruleville, Mississippi, for winning our right to vote. Part of my history was the 9 years I worked with Coretta King. I have a history that a lot of people don't know, but it's Black History Month and I never bring it up, and what the young people told us in the room last night, y'all need to tell us what you did, tell us what you do. So I had to change everything today because I was listening last night. I was listening too, Tiny. So when I saw Lissa, I said, well, that's the keeper of our message, our history, and our stories. So give Lissa a hand. I know it wasn't part of the program, but just keeping it real. And thank you for coming up. Thank you for coming up. Teaching our children what our people did. Give it a hand. We should never be afraid to teach our people about our people. One of the things that hit me real hard was Tanya last night. Tanya talked about all the things that we don't do that we should do. Where's Tanya right now?
Crying. Crying.
Tanya.
Yes.
Come here, I'm going to do something I never do. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it like a man. I apologize to you for what the elders have not done. That make you lose sight to believe in us. And I'm sorry if they hurt you like that. I apologize for all of us. You grew up as a child trying to help your people, and we need to keep you face up front, feeling like you're doing the right thing and it's not in vain. What you're doing with your father is what we need. I apologize as a man to you for my people. She told the truth last night about what we're not doing, that we should do. If we expect our kids to make it, we got to do more to help them make it. If we expect them to be successful, we got to do more to help them be successful. You cannot have a man out front like Dr. Fagan and not give him what he needs and make him beg other people that he has no business begging because we're not doing our part of being responsible and helping and saving our children. Come on, bro. I apologize to him also. 39 years. By now we should have made up our mind how important it is to save our children. And especially when we heard the strength of our children last night. We heard sisters that sounded like Sojourner Truth, sounded like Harriet Tubman. We heard brothers that sounded like Malcolm X. They're not lost. And they won't be lost as long as there's people like you, Doc, holding on and holding that banner. So I said, I'm going to make this a family issue tonight. I ain't going to be no great speaker. I'm going to be a realist. So I apologize to you and your daughter for everybody that doesn't understand what you're trying to do here. There has to be leaders. Tanya, men came together for generations. They believed they could fly like birds. They needed money. They needed a building. They needed material. They needed a design. And then they built those airplanes. And they kept crashing. But they kept going on. They kept building those planes. Benjamin Shaver flew in here on one yesterday. Because they didn't quit. Our ancestors, the first Hebrews in the history of the world, wasn't no Hebrews before us, wasn't no white Jews, it was just black Hebrews. But when we came out of bondage in Egypt, we were acting like brothers on the block. Moses said it's time to go, it's time for us to free ourselves. We're going to leave this bondage, we're going to leave Egypt. We said we ain't going nowhere. And Moses talked about why we got to go, why we got to come out of this and go into the wilderness. Any place is better than slavery. And every step of the way, every day, every night, we were resisting. We were talking crazy. We weren't supportive. We weren't behind him. We didn't believe he's lost. He don't know where he's going. Let's turn around. Let's go back. But Moses held on.
That's right. That's right.
Moses held on. Jesus started out with a handful of people. And even at the top, he only had 12 disciples. But he took that religion and he spread it throughout the land. And it left the land and hit the world. And Jesus never quit. And long after they hung him on the cross and put nails in his hands and his feet and a thorn crown into his head, and they thought he was dead. Thousands of years later, the people of Jesus are still hollering, Jesus, Jesus, and have not let him go. Look at the pyramids by very intelligent people, us, built. Many of them lost their lives in the process of building them. But 5,000 years later, they standing up as a testimony to the greatness of our people. Harriet Tubman came across that river into them woods, into the dark, knowing that there was a bounty on her head, not dead or alive, dead. And that little sister, shorter than me, came back over and over again to free more slaves. And as it says on the paper, she saved thousands, but she would have saved thousands more if they only knew. But it never stopped her from coming. We're a people that if we do get beat down and we do get turned around, Tanya, we get back up and we go again. Why do we go? Because we're going for our future. We're going for a new day. And I'm sorry about the way some of us are behaving. But if Doc's going, I'm going. Dalton's going, I'm going. If all the people who volunteer with Doc is going, I'm going.
That's right.
And most of us need to learn to go and learn to get the money to make sure this conference has what our children have to send them where they're supposed to go.
That's right.
No, we couldn't go to white schools, but we had to build our own. But we took our pennies and we did it. We got it done. And when Booker T came out of there, he knew to reach back and build an institution that we could use so we could get some more through school. And without that, wouldn't have been no George Washington Carver with all them inventions. Without there wouldn't have been no Tuskegee Airmen. Everything we do comes with struggle, but we must struggle and never quit struggling, whether it's good, bad, or indifference, until we see young people like we saw last night understand their destiny, understand their dream, understand they can reach their goal. We got to keep doing what we can do, and we got to keep telling y'all, we absolutely, without a doubt, love you. Unconditionally. Without a doubt. You ain't got to look like this, that, or nothing else. We love you for you. And whatever you are and whatever you ain't, we got to look at ourselves in the mirror. Michael Jackson told us, take a look at yourself in that mirror. And it's time, because the battle is on. This program right here is one of the greatest programs I've ever participated in my life.
39 years old, of saving young black people and sending them on their way to be successful, and now talking to young white kids and sending them on their way to be successful and learning how to work together as human beings. We cannot let it die. We can only make it grow. It is very important that we clear the air on everything from now on. That we go into that city, this conference gets its fair share from our community. No different than Brother Q-Bear back there. KMOJ needs its fair share from our community. We holler what we want to hear, but we don't pay for nothing. Jesse Jackson told me years and years ago, he said, Brother Spike, everybody wants to tell me what to do. Everybody wants to tell me where to be. He said, but when I get up in the morning and walk downstairs and get that cab, nobody pays for it. He said, when I get that plane ticket, nobody buys it. He said, when I land, they don't pay for no car to pick me up. He said, when I get to the hotel, they don't pay for my room. He said, when I'm ready to eat, they don't pay for my food. But everybody want to tell me what to do. If you want to tell us what to do, pay for it. Pay for it. Everything you can't have, it can't be free, everything. You got to pay your way. Our ancestors paid their way in blood and in change. With all of their labor and all of their work, they paid their way for everything we have. The only thing you have to do is get up and learn and go get yours. They've already paid the price. We died in thousands. We died in thousands. When they finally decided to count how many of us had been lynched because they weren't counting them, they still discovered over 4,000. 3,500 of them were lynched in Florida. We have paid the price, and we must do what they did. Keep holding our banner up with pride, with hope, with respect. If you expect the children to do it, you have to show them how to do it. That's what they said to us in that room last night. Give us the history. Give us the understanding. As a kid, I had on my mind where I'm going to hang out, where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do today. It should have hurt you, Tanya. It should have hurt Doc. It should have hurt Dawson. It should have hurt me when them kids said, when I come out my house, in my mind, I've already told myself how I'm going to survive the police today. I already told myself how I got to talk to them. I already told myself how I'm going to answer him. I already said how I'm going to move when he tells me to move, because he'll kill you. Remember they said it?
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
This was what was on their mind. Not having a good time, just trying to survive the world that they didn't even create for themselves. But they got to survive it until it gets right. I appreciated the honesty of them young men last night. God must wanted us, Doc, to be in that room last night. He must wanted us to think about what we're doing and why we're doing it. He must wanted us to hold on, Tanya, and be that bridge that we cross for success one more time. That these children understand, if we got to pay the price one more time, we'll pay it. There's never going to be no docs unless we make them. And what I've seen from this conference, we're making them. We're holding on with nothing till we have something. But we're holding on. And these children are going to hold on and be more than America wanted them to be, more than America expected them to be, more than anybody believed they could be, because they think they ain't going to be nothing but a number in somebody's penitentiary, and we got all these black, female, and male geniuses. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. So I had to change everything that I was going to say today because I was so deeply touched last night with our discussion. A real family discussion. Good, bad, indifferent, right, wrong, up and down. No fighting, just straight up talking. And whether we agree or disagree, we all know this is what we owe. We owe our children to stand by their side. I want you to send the word out here today. You have a whole year to know when this conference is going to be. A whole year. So you should be able to come down here with your degrees and your businesses and your knowledge and your years of life and spend those days with those babies because you've already cleared your calendar. You have a whole year. Don't say nothing, jump up and run. They can't talk to you. Sit down, clear your calendar so they can hear how you did it, how you made it. Don't come down here and run. Come down here because you cleared your calendar so they can ask you the questions that they asked me. And boy, do they have them. So we got to talk to the adults. You owe this to your kids if you want them to be straight. Give them a minute of your time. Stop running from them. Because you owe them just like somebody owed us. I'm here because black adults held on to me. When we were talking last night, and I was sharing some of my story, in my hometown, they didn't allow black people to cross the train track and go to the hospital. You wasn't allowed. But if you could get 170 miles to St. Louis, Missouri, you could go to a real hospital, #2 for black people. If you could get 21 miles to Hannibal, Missouri, you could go to a clinic that would accept black people. You couldn't go to a dentist. I know it's funny, but most of us learned how to tie a string on our tooth and shut the door. Pull it out by a door because we couldn't go to the dentist. We knew what it was to be in a house without running water. What it was to have an outhouse 50 yards in the dark, in the back, through the snakes, in the weeds, and everything else out there. We knew what it was to read by a candle or a kerosene lantern. We knew what it was to not only get your heat from a potbelly stove, but cook on a potbelly stove. We knew what it was to have a steel iron that you set on the stove and you knew the temperature by throwing a little water on it when to iron your clothes. We knew how to scrub the floor by hands on our knees. We knew how to wash a sheet till it was snow white. Beat it on a rock and hang it up on the string and let the sun finish bleaching it white till it was dry. And then we knew we had to take it in the house and iron it, fold it, put it in a basket for that white woman to give you 25 cents for the entire basket. So when I talk about the struggle, I ain't ashamed. I ain't ashamed. I talked about my mother with her childhood dream. 17 years old, I'm going to be a nurse when I get grown. And she told us I'm going to be a nurse. And when she got to Minnesota, she went to nursing school. She worked all day and she saved her money and she paid her way through school and she graduated. But they didn't tell her we don't hire black nurses in Minnesota. I told them how my mother went down on her knees, scrubbing floors, dragging that bucket every day for $1.50 to $2 a day. And when I got my job at Henry Hamburgers, and I was doing pretty good, and I got me a job at the V store. So I thought I'd walk across town where my mother was working over in the Jewish community. And I walked over there and knocked on the door, and she let me in, and she got back down on the floor, and she started scrubbing the floor, and I was so proud. I said, Mama, you can get up now. I got a second job. You can have whatever check you want. You can get up now. You ain't got to scrub no more toilets. Scrub no more floor. She had a hand on the brush and a hand on the bucket, and she looked at me on her knees and said, Son, oh, I'm all right. And I was crushed because I thought I was helping my mama get up from her knees from scrubbing people's floors. I had no idea my mother's spirit was broken. It was gone. Her dream was gone. She no longer even felt like a nurse. She felt like a day worker. And when I finally got it, I was about 15 years old before I figured out why my mama said it'd be all right, son, and stayed down on her knees till the day she retired. You know, many of us had our dreams deferred, our dreams stolen and lost and taken away, and our life changed forever because of the way we were treated in this country. Then we should always want more for our young people. We should not want these sisters on their knees scrubbing nobody's toilets. We should want them to be doctors and lawyers and judges and corporation heads. We should want that.
That's right.
We should not want our brothers to be just a number in somebody's penitentiary, lining somebody else's pocket with a 2-car garage in the suburb, sending their kids to college on your misery and suffering as you take on a record and a felony.
Yes.
We should want more. We should want our children to think the sky is the limit. And that's why I'm so proud after 50-some years of work to sit there and listen to the radio when listeners telling us about ourselves. Lord have mercy, listen, you have no idea what I feel every time I hear you playing the tapes and breaking it down to a generation I know has absolutely no knowledge about self. Thank God Almighty for it. You have to learn about you. You represent the greatest people that ever walked this earth. You represent the first people that ever walked this earth. And no matter how they try to dismiss you, they all came from you. If a white person don't know, let them know you might not know, but you are my sister whenever you get done tripping. That's right. White boy, you are my brother whenever you get done tripping. Now you might be a little more closer to that albino, because you ain't got no pigment, no melon, but you belong to me. You just ain't got enough sense to know. So we need to teach and make them understand. We are all one. That's why the movement that me and Pastor Russell started is called the One Love Movement. Because we ain't gonna allow you to be Crips and Bloods, north side, south side, light skin, dark skin. We're gonna do one love. That's what we doing, one love. We have to move to a new tomorrow. So I appreciate being able to spend this time with you. And I know I'll get another chance to do the speech that I planned. But what Tanya put on my heart last night when I saw how brokenhearted she was,